So why don't we settle for the details right now? And it appears that finally the IMF program would be extended by a year. It's supposed to end in April 2018, but there appears to be some uncertainty as in what the IMF is saying and what government is saying. But let's get you a wrap of what the board said when they finalized their meeting to assess how Ghana has fared so far under the IMF program.
According to the executive board of the IMF, in carrying out the review, Ghana requested for waivers for non-observance of performance criteria and modification of one performance criterion. And here is the confirmation, the extension of the arrangement by 1 year. So if the program was originally expected to end in April 2018 and it's extended by a year, what does that mean? Well, we may have to form our own judgment. The board in their statement after the meeting also noted that, although government has taken some drastic steps to stabilize the economy, some threat still remains to the economy and program due to revenue shortfalls. It is therefore proposing some tight expenditure measures to help stabilize the situation. It also noted that fiscal consolidation efforts will need to be anchored in wide-ranging structural fiscal reforms so that consolidation gains can be sustained over the medium term. These include measures to broaden the tax base and enhance tax compliance and public financial management, especially considering the large unpaid commitments accumulated in 2016. On the banking front, the IMF maintained that they gave the Bank of Ghana thumbs up for some significant progress made in capitalizing commercial banks in the country and the timeline set for those found to be undercapitalized. On the collapse of the two banks, the IMF appears to be of the view that it was good to help stabilize the sector. It, however, maintained that further steps are needed to strengthen the regulation of the sector, reduce outstanding liquidity assistance, and buttress the microfinance sector will help build a more robust financial sector that is well positioned to support growth and promote financial inclusion.
And that was some details about the IMF board meeting when they met yesterday to find out how Ghana actually fared under the program. So, has this program been extended or not? We caught up with the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, for some answers or details on this.
Some time ago, the President had mentioned that we are aligning the program of our budget cycle to end in 2018. And really, yesterday at the IMF board meeting was agreement for the fourth review. And we haven't had a review in about 18 months, so it is really a landmark event in which then we'll get certain releases to support the budget. And certainly, once we work with the IMF in November for the 2018 budget, we intend to go through 2018 to make sure that the agreements and the prior actions are fulfilled by year-end 2018. We will meet the target.
Any reason for that extension?
Well, I think the President was quite clear that once you do the budget in November this year for the whole of next year, we just follow to make sure that the budget is fully implemented. And that's the full cycle of the calendar year next year.
So we'll be trying to link up to economist Dr. Joabe live from the Gimpa campus on what he makes of all these developments, whether this uncertainty could impact negatively on the economy or not, and all those things. We'll be catching up soon with Dr. Joabe, an economist live from the Gimpa campus on some development. And let's move away from the IMF and do some tax-related issues. Now, despite protestations by some industry players, the government has gone ahead to actually launch the tax policy. So how is this thing actually going to work out? And all we'll be getting more details on the tax policy issues and all those things. Let's first hear from the Commissioner General on this particular issue to try and get some more details on it. But first, let's try and just take a break and We'll be right back after this one. Welcome back from the commercial break, and we'll be getting more details on this whole issue about the IMF program and some analysis from Dr. Joabe. But let's do some tax-related issues, because despite all the protestations from industry players or some business or industry players in the business sector, government has gone ahead to launch its tax stamp policy. So let's get more details on how does the zoo tax actually works from my colleague Ebenezer Sabute, who was there at the launch of this particular event. So help me out. Tax stamp, are they just going to take that hard wooden thing to stamp on every product, or even stamp on this apparel that does tax stamp? Help me out.
I think you are, let me say you are a bit right.
Okay. So at the end of the day, there will be a stamp.
There will be a stamp.
Okay, let's go ahead.
It's going to be like for some specific products, and products like alcoholic beverages, non-alcoholic, and then I think there's water too in it. It is actually not a new tax that government is introducing. It's actually to try to prevent,
streamline, identify certain products so that
exactly,
people don't smuggle some products in and they don't pay taxes.
Into the market. So what they do is the GRA will supply it to the manufacturers or the dealers from the port. Then it will be stamped on the various products.
You have been speaking to the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority,
Exactly.
What has he been saying? Or help me out on that one.
According to him, the issue about the cost, that businesses are going to pay the cost, is neither here nor there, because government is going to take care of it.
And you've been speaking to him on that one.
Yes,
Let's
so
watch the
let's
clip from
watch
the
it,
Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Kofi Nti, who has been explaining to us how these things would work out, and actually challenging the claims of most business associations that this is expensive and it's going to hurt them.
They are resisting in that previously, maybe they were not accounting for the tax payment that they have to do on the products.
But some of the concerns also has to do with the cost of it, because businesses...
Yes. Unfortunately, when you listen to the minister talked about the fact that the government is ready to pick up the cost, at least for a long period during the implementation. And the issue is, the truth of the matter is that the cost per sticker is so low that it's not an issue. The issue is that there were abuses which this thing is curtailing, and they are using the cost as a... Because if the cost is the issue, the cost has already been catered for.
How much has it cost government?
To be safe, I won't be able to put the exact number to it. They had to supply some quantities over a period of time. You know, this process had been stalled. I mean, in between we had to pay, and then at the end of the day, it got stalled. So coming to it, but we are looking at a situation where the cost per stamp is 0.005. So it's not even up to 1 cedi. No, not even up to 1 peswa. It's basically less than 1 peswa per stamp. And so when you look at the price that is involved, there's nothing to whom to speak about. And the core issue that some of us see is that there were abuses. And some of, not to ascribe anything, are into products that are illicit. And this thing, the stamps are going to be issued to the real manufacturers and then the producers at those points in time. So it curtails the abuse. So while curtailing the abuse, it strengthens the health situation of the people.
So that was the Commissioner General. Help me out. So which products would have this tax stamp on it?
Unfortunately, consumers of alcoholic products like the whiskeys, the beers, and some tobacco. Those are the
those who smoke
products.
Actually.
Exactly. They are going to be affected by this tax stamp.
And will that result in the price of these products going up?
Not necessarily, but as time goes on, after government has taken the cost, with the subsequent years, it might affect the prices.
Okay, so that was my colleague Ebenezer Sabute giving me details on those products that will be affected. Let's get back to the IMF program, and let's get Dr. Joabe actually to get more details on those issues. Now, Dr. Joabe is an economist, and let's get more details on that one. So let's get onto the line straight and speak to Dr. Joabe. He's an economist. Dr. Joabe, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on The Marketplace. So my first question is, what do you make of, finally the program has been extended, not December 2018, but April 2019, Doc? So, Doc, if you can hear me, I was just asking you what you make of the program extension finally to April 2019.
Yes.
So, Doc, what do you make of the program being extended?
Hello?
Yeah, Doc, I can hear you live and clear. I'm asking you, what do you make about the extension of the program finally by a year?
Yeah, well, we need a few more details, but my interpretation is that you have a review period. So it means to me that the actual review of the performance of 2018 will. Yes, I'm saying. Yes, I think that we needed it because the 2016 outcome was a setback, a big setback. So if we do not extend it by at least a year, which makes up for the 1 year we lost in 2016, it would have been very difficult for the government to be able to meet the targets. So the 1 year extension was necessary.
Actually, what could be the cost of this extension to the economy?
Yes.
What about the cost? Doc, I was trying to find out what about the cost of this to the economy?
Well, yes. What I also see in the press release that I'm holding, yes, it will mean quite a bit of an effort, an increase in austerity beyond what the original program would have been. But that's because we need to catch up. We need to catch up with what the original program objectives were to be. So,
Doc, for you, do you believe that the way this thing was handled by government could cost us in terms of credibility? In one breath, we're saying that the program would not be extended. In another breath, the program be extended. Now, finally, just like what in Chido say, Ejebo, now the Eja is here with us. Was it good?
well, I think that this has been corrected. The thing about not extending was going to make the credibility of completing the thing next April 2018 was going to make it not quite credible, and markets would not have believed that Ghana would be able to impose such harsh austerity on ourselves in an attempt to get out of a program with the IMF. So I think that
So Dr. Joabe explaining us, giving us some details on what he makes of this whole extension and about the cost of this to the whole program. So are you working in the public sector? There's a likelihood that you are not going to get your salaries for this month. Why? Because there are some problems. Let's get details of this whole initiatives and who it might affect in this following report.
According to the Controller and Accountant General's Department, the suspension of salaries would affect those public sector workers on the mechanized payroll whose salaries have not been validated through the electronic salary payment voucher system in August 2017, as well as employees whose salaries were not validated. Also, employees with zero or irregular bank account details and others with wrong or without SNIT numbers, no bank details and same account numbers for different employees. Employees without the biometric registration system at the Ministry of Finance. So what can these people do to be paid? Well, for those whose salaries were suspended due to non-validation of salaries would be paid at the end of September 2017 on the condition that their heads of department validate them on the ESPV platform for September 2017. Employees declared unknown but not missing at their various places of work are required to submit reactivation letters signed by their heads of department to the Controller Payroll Processing Division. Employees yet to get through the biometric registration exercise should contact the Biometric Registration Center at the Ministry of Finance with the necessary documents for registration.
So my worry is that I hope you don't work or you're not one of those who've been affected by this suspension of your August salary. I hope it's just not mine. So let's get back to this issue about some business associations that are raising concerns with this whole tax stamp policy. Now, I have one of the representatives of the Association of Food and Beverage Association, that is Mr. Agri, Samuel Agri. He's raising issues about this whole thing. So thank you very much for joining us on Marketplace. Finally, government has gone ahead with this thing. So what's your next line of action?
Well, for the understanding that we had with the government, the position was that the launching must go on whilst negotiation also takes place. Mm-hmm. But for us, we said when the negotiations are not forthright and you go ahead and implement or launch that the policy, and what does it mean? Mm-hmm. Because we expected that we'll at least iron out all the differences that we are facing and then what we anticipate mm-hmm. will happen. Mm-hmm. So that when you go ahead and you launch the program, it becomes successful for all. Mm-hmm. As I'm talking to you, all the needed the associations or the market leadership that are supposed to support this project has all boycotted the launching. So it becomes very difficult for us to understand who is going to implement this policy. Because if you're going ahead to launch the program, then whom are you talking to? This is the problem.
Some would say that aren't these associations just being difficult because government has to raise revenue and government has to engage every association to buy into a policy before they implement it?
Nobody is against government raising revenue. We had challenges of even putting water under the tax stamp project. We said no, it shouldn't be because water is a necessity for even children to drink. We cannot live without water. So if you are looking at the numbers of the bottled water being produced, then it means that it's the only interest of government is the revenue. But we are saying no, let water be out. Let us look at the issues, the brands or the products that affects the society in general, where they are able to smuggle into the country products like tobacco and alcoholic beverages. So when we do that, we'll be able to curb the influx of other poisonous substances like this unknown tobacco sources that we've been smoking in the market. People have been buying smokes. Children have been buying cigarettes because they look too cheap and affordable. We said we have to. You see, this issue of the tax stamp, it's all about revenue. Government is telling us that no, it's not about revenue, but then we want it to be a compliance project. But that is not the issue. It's all about revenue. When you take the industry, for instance, the bottling companies and then the canning products, you realize that the quantum of product that they produce, they are not able to tell whether they are truly producing or declaring the amount of bottles that they are producing. So therefore, let us introduce this tax stamp to augment or curb if there is any sort of underhand dealings. But that is not to be. All the product that you see on the market, or be it import or locally produced, these are products that has been gone through the tax revenues. So therefore, introducing the tax stamp will mean double taxation in that area too.
That's what you see. So what would be finally your next line of action, looking at all these things? Because you think that it would impact on the price of the commodity further increasing. Yeah.
Exactly, because in 6 months they tell you it's for free. But who bears the cost of machinery? And then the handheld devices that they are going to use and the stamps and all that. If we're able to come to a conclusion who is going to bear that cost, then it makes it easier for the industry and the importer to understand which way we should go. But then after the 6 months that they are saying that it's going to be free, what happens after 6 months?
And you believe that it would result in high prices?
Obviously, because whatever investment you make in your production line, whatever investment you make on affixing the tax stamp, you need to pass it on to the consumer. And we are saying that it's becoming too much. Every day we have to pass on little burdens onto the consumer and making product more expensive. Eventually, when you look at even the paperless program that has been launched, what it means is that more importation is going to be cut off because a lot of importers cannot go through the rigorous regime of this paperless project. So therefore, you either decide to cut off your imports or you reduce your number of imports to make sure that you're able to accommodate the necessary
So I know the debate will still be ongoing in your offices, and if you are importer as well, about whether the tax stamp actually would help to grow the economy or not. Tomorrow is the day for our friends, the Muslims, celebrate their own festival. But you know, the interesting bit about this whole festival is about the meat. I love my meat. I don't know about you. But my colleague Charles Ayete stepped out into the market to find out how things are panning out. And he has more.
It's Eid once again, and we're currently here at the Aveno market as several patrons are currently trooping in to get for themselves the best livestock for this year's celebration. We're here to find out the costs involved, the reasons why they choose to, make their shopping currently here, and why the reason behind this whole sale of livestock ahead of the Eid festivities. Sheep is the main livestock for this year's Eid celebrations, but the high cost of them is already making bleak the chances of a successful festivity. Baba is a patron who is here to get for himself some sheep for the celebration. He spoke to Joy Business.
We don't know now how to do. So if we can buy, then we buy. If you can't buy, then we go out and sit down, because our money is not rich for the things. Because the CFA is too high. And the cars too are charging the people too much before they bring the goods. Everything is too high. So we don't know what to do.
Some herdsmen at Aveno in Accra told Joy Business that the high cost of the CFA coupled with various border barriers have slowed down trade this time around.
This time the CFA is going high. So we cannot, if we are just selling them, but they did not read the money. But we want to help Ghana people. Yes. But more times, if you charge them, they say this and the goat is too much. But how we go buy them, expensive. It's too much expensive. The silver they high, so we cannot sell it like that. But we want to just help them. So we are begging Ghana people to come and buy the goat.
So how much be the goat?
Okay, I can buy it like 15,500.
But the market, they don't buy anything. We are here. I was here for a long period of time. I started here for the last 2 years, and I'm still here since 2015 to 2017. But compared to the market, just regularly last year and then this year, we are lacking. We don't even buy anything.
The price where you go sell, maybe you go figure. See the market no good. The foreign country will go buy them. The price you buy them, no fee buy them for Ghana here. You talk something, money no day. Like last year, everything close.
It's if I go high too much. Last year we buy goat here like 50 gig. 50 gig. When they come because of the safer, we sell it 40. We reduce 1 million. You see, because of the safer is too high.
They relate to issues about the low performance of the currency market, as well as the low patronage of their livestock in the wake of this year's celebration. So what this means is that if you're, a Muslim or you have a relative, who is a Muslim who would love to buy for him or herself cattle or, sheep, he or she would have to spend more as compared to that of last year because the prices have arguably gone high. One sheep The ones we're seeing down there could go for 1,500. The little ones could go for, between 800 to 900 cities. A lift from that of what was, happening or what was being charged last year. And this is a situation right here at Avino Market in Accra. And traders here are also saying that it transcends all other markets across the country.
Then you have to up your budget if you have to enjoy the Eid. So happy Eid to all my Muslim friends, and I hope that would qualify me to get some meat from you as I start my fasting for tomorrow. And a plate of meat and chilled bottle of water. My fasting has started. Have a good afternoon. Prepare myself. All the best.